Back to the Field of 68 Best Bets show presented by BetRivers. We're the three-man weave, and we're here to talk to you about college basketball, conference tournament action. It is one of the best weeks of the entire year, fellas. Last week was as well, because conference tournaments are the best. So many buzzer beaters, so many overtime games, so much drama. I can't get enough of it. Matthew, did you have any takeaways from yesterday from the action that we saw?
Yeah, happy to see both Charleston and the men in fur, the Dins, do what they're supposed to do, taking care of their business. Yeah, I don't like conference tournaments as much as you do, Kai, because I don't like when what's supposed to happen doesn't at the expense of my beloved pet teams. But so far, the good fighters are still fighting, Jim. That's all I can report at this point.
Yeah, I said it in our group chat last night. I want the games to be awesome, and then I want the team I prefer to win. Is that right? So much to ask? And actually, I think that happened last night in the two finals. Furman getting it done got me all emotional. So watching Bothwell go back to the spot where he was laying after the buzzer beater last year was really cool. And I had forgotten that Louisiana, when they made the final last year, Bob Marlin was dealing with the death of his mother. And so there's a little bit of a redemption story there too. The basketball was good last night, Kai. The emotional storylines got me. This is March. I love it. More to come tonight.
Yeah, my takeaway was Furman too. We're just stoked for that program. We've had Bob Ritchie on our podcast before. He's just a really great guy. And that program hasn't made the tournament since 1980. So 43 years in the making. Obviously, their last year with the buzzer beater that crushed their souls. They finished top 3 in the conference for 8 straight years. They deserve this. So congrats for Furman. Let's get started. Let's talk conference tournaments. Let's go through the rundown. Of course, chat mob, chat it up if you want us to answer questions. Let's start in the WCC, the marquee final, although not as much drama here, Jim, because we know both these teams are in the Field of 68 already as at-larges. St. Mary's versus Gonzaga. Zags -2.5. It's the rubber match. It's the matchup everyone wanted. Who you got?
I kind of like the Zags. I just think they are trending better at this point. Both teams got a little more of a test than they bargained for yesterday. St. Mary's was up huge on BYU, and then BYU cut it all the way down to, I think it got to 4 in the final minute. Like, it got really, really hairy for them a little bit. And then Gonzaga had to just deal with the punches thrown by San Francisco. Khalil Shabazz was a man possessed last night, keeping that one within range. But Gonzaga's offense has been ridiculous. I tweeted this since February 1st. It's the best offense in the country, and it's not even remarkably close. Like, they're 10 points clear of the second best offense in the country in that time per 100 possessions. That's outrageous. Matt, I thought they made some quality adjustments in the second meeting against St. Mary's. I just think they're slightly better right now, so I'm going to lean that way, the -2.5.
Yeah, another example of market versus, Ken Pom analytics of sorts, trying to have their tug of war in I kind of agree with the market and odds makers, Kai, laying 2.5. I think the opener was a little too far at 3.5. What this game in the rematch, I know the first matchup at St. Mary's, I think closed -3.5. In the rematch, Gonzaga closed -6.5. So I guess the numbers kind of settled in more around, that middle ground. I think the market's got this one priced right. I lean toward the Zags, but man, St. Mary's for the first 35 minutes was putting it on BYU. I mean, Aiden Mahaney in that offense was a force to be reckoned with. I don't feel like that was just more of a let their foot off the gas, and maybe I should be worried about this form that St. Mary's is in, but I think the price is pretty accurate.
Yeah, I just think the Zags are a tough matchup for St. Mary's, frankly. They're big, they're uber talented, number 1 offense in the country, about the only team I think that can score consistently on them, maybe in the country. So I lean towards the Zags here at -2.5. Again, both great teams. I said it on Twitter, St. Mary's, they're a 5 seed. They're probably going to be a pick with Kansas if they're in that region. They have a great shot at making the Elite 8 and beyond, but it's Zags tonight for me. In the chat, yeah, we should touch on this real quick. So Pat asks if Jalen Clark is out for UCLA for the year. Mick Cronin said it was a lower leg injury. Jim and I talked about this with Avery Anderson in Oklahoma State. These coaches are probably just saying and downplaying that their players' injuries are a little less serious than they actually are because the committee pays attention to it. It's pretty common. You saw San Francisco do it last year with Masalski. I think Clark tore his Achilles and is out for the season.
Yeah,
that's my assumption. Don't know for sure.
I agree that the vagueness of that announcement tells me there's something that they don't want to announce.
Yeah. Don't know for sure. Just saw it was reported and, who knows. Okay. Moving on. Colonial, the CAA, Charleston, UNC Wilmington. Matt, this spread is 10. Charleston's a 10-point favorite in the championship game. They did survive Towson. Wilmington upset Hofstra. The first two games, okay, you kind of see where 10 comes from, right? Wilmington came back down from 15 at home. Charleston beat them by 32 in game 2 in a bloodbath, but gosh, I can't get there with double digits. What do you think?
Yeah, it's too high. I like Charleston first half, though. Just last night, indicative of how this team has been vulnerable when they have big leads. I just think that when they balloon to double digits, they don't defend with the same focus that they do when they're, the game's tighter. Their shot selection gets a little bit looser. And I think they're an easy team to make a comeback run against. That's why I think it's been if you're looking to back Charleston, especially in a championship game where there's no risk of them coming out flat or, lackadaisical, I guess. I think first half's the look here, but even then 5.5 is a big number to lay against a feisty Wilmington team that's, not on the magic carpet ride they were last year and the start of this year. I think they finally, the horseshoe has been delodged from their rear gym, but they're still a really good team and they're deep and they're well coached, and 10's a lot. That's all I'll say.
I saw the horseshoe last night. It was protruding from the rear against Hofstra as Aaron Estrada played one of his worst games. Hofstra missed wide open jumper after wide open jumper. The one that went in and out, Kai, at the end of overtime, the Jake Juan Carlos one, just outrageous. Really, really tough luck there for the Pride. But man, I think this is way too big too. First half or full game. Plus 10's my best bet. UNC Wilmington is a cockroach. They do not go away. Kai, we talked about it on Sirius last night. I think this is a great live betting game, like fantastic. Charleston has always been that way. UNC Wilmington is not a team that's going to go away if they get down. I'll take the 10 pre-flop as my best bet, but I do think this is a game where you could get Charleston down at like -1, Wilmington up at like +15, and then hopefully just enjoy the game and get the Cougars through to the NCAA tournament, because that's what I want to see. But yeah, Kai, the two matchups this year, one was close, one was really, really not. Charleston blew them out most recently, so that's maybe contributing to the line being bet up a little bit. I just think Wilmington's too feisty, too well coached to go away like that. I think they hang around +10.
Yeah, you could maybe say the Cougars have their number, and they don't foul on defense. That's a really good point for a team that, like Wilmington, that likes to draw fouls and get to the line. Wilmington does do a good job of defending the perimeter, but Charleston has shot really well against them in 2 games. So it comes down to this for me. It's a championship game. It's really hard to blow a team out in the championship unless your name is Drake and you're playing Bradley. I think it's too high, double digits. I lean towards Wilmington as well. All right, Summit Final. Oral Roberts, North Dakota State, another double-digit championship spread here as Oral Roberts is laying 10.5. It's so tough, again, to win these games by this many points. Jim, the pressure is mounting for Oral Roberts as well. They're 20-0 now against Summit competition. Does the pressure get to them, or do they take care of business?
And I think they felt it a little bit yesterday. I could see it being like Furman, where, look, they're the better team. They mostly control the game, but they can't get away. The team they're playing is well coached and can hang around. And there's some matchup edges for North Dakota State in the paint. Grant Nelson, Andrew Morgan can really beat them up inside. We know Vanover's given Oral Roberts some actual rim protection, but he's not exactly a strong, burly type of guy. So I do think North Dakota State can get some points in the paint. Nelson, I believe, had 24 and 12 the last time these two played. The weird thing, Matt, this is the #1 offensive turnover rate. They do not turn the ball over against the worst defensive turnover rate team in the country in North Dakota State. Oral Roberts only had 19 combined turnovers in the 2 meetings. I could see that being like 6 today, given the way NDSU plays. But it is a little bit high to me. I don't want to lay double digits in a title game unless I really feel like there's obvious matchup advantages for the favorite. And I think there's a little bit of edge towards North Dakota State in the paint, enough that I'm not going to take the favorite. Definitely lean towards NDSU.
Right. It feels like a deja vu of the last handicap, right? I think it's a really, really good team versus a solid team who we respect more than the line indicates. I'm not as worried about the matchup concerns against North Dakota State. Like, I know Morgan Nelson can stretch and shoot a little bit, but I mean, the Tommies really did that to the extreme. They took Brooks Allen, they brought their bigs, they spaced them, and they made Vanover really, they put him on skates quite a bit, and they did that in all 3 matchups this season. I think that's kind of the kryptonite to beating Oral Roberts, is you make Vanover a liability on defense with more of a 5-out look. I still think North Dakota State's best when they have their 2 bigs doing what they do best, which is working inside against Vanover and, the sneaky length that ORU has. I don't think that's as effective. I still believe this Oral Roberts team is all the way legit. I worry about their depth, though, Kai. I think we've seen it starting to dwindle as the season's gone on. They have not been that dominant second half team. I think they had the highest second half cover margin for a while, but that's kind of come back down to earth. Again, if you like the favorite, I think first half's where you look, but I generally agree with your prevailing take that the dog's the right play here.
Yeah, my best bet is North Dakota State plus 10.5. Or Roberts, man, they snuck by St. Thomas. I am fully on board of the pressure is on for this team. They can't get net large despite being 29-4. This is it, and they're expected to win, and they know they are at 20-0 against the Summit. They were down at half to St. Thomas. St. Thomas hung with them the entire game. North Dakota State is good, and Grant Nelson has had 2 very good games against Oral Roberts this year. He's averaging 22.5 and 8 boards against Oral Roberts. It's a mismatch for them. Now, Oral Roberts guards are way better than North Dakota State's guards. It's not even close. But again, this spread is too high. North Dakota State was competitive for 30-ish minutes in both of those games. I think they can keep it close here, or at least stay within 10.5. Best bet, Bison. Horizon is where we're going next. The kin battle, the Norse, the Vikings. They're all from the same area. Matt, Northern Kentucky is minus 2.5 as the 4 seed. They're playing the 3 seed Cleveland State Vikings. Many expected Northern Kentucky to win this league in the preseason with all their experience, their guard play, the guys they brought back. Your thoughts on the Horizon final?
I like the Norse. Just feel like a team of destiny, don't they? After last year's, devastating loss to Wright State.
More redemption, baby. More redemption.
More redemption. The redemption stories continues exactly. Furman, etc. But it's -3 now. I think it was sitting at -1.5 all morning. If you pounce then, I think you have the right number. 2.5 is a little too rich for me. Although, again, I think it's a team of destiny. The way they're shooting the ball right now, absolutely on fire, and they have a lot of guards that are capable of making shots. So I don't believe it's like this fluke run that they're on either. And then, Jim, Cleveland State, how did they destroy? And they did destroy Milwaukee, by the way, at the rim. The zone is the ultimate kryptonite to that rim attacking, slashing advantage that the Vikings had. However, the one issue you have to worry about from a Norse perspective is the glass. I believe Cleveland State grabbed 15 plus offensive rebounds in the second meeting in the regular season between those two. Obviously, against the zone, that's always a concern. But that's the only really reliable way I see Vikings scoring tonight. I like the Norse's overall makeup, especially on offense. So I think they get it done here at Indianapolis.
Yeah, Cleveland State had 36 offensive rebounds combined in the 2 meetings with Northern Kentucky. They absolutely bludgeoned them there. And like you said, that's how they crushed Milwaukee last night, was just at the rim. They had, I think, like 48 points at halftime and hadn't hit a 3, something like that. It was ridiculous. But the zone is going to make that a lot more frustrating. Even when they get those offensive rebounds, it's tough to finish. There's going to be a lot of guys trying to swipe at the ball down there. It's going to be a challenge for them. I like this Norse team as well, Kai, given the guard playmaking they've gotten, the shot making. I think that's on a higher level than Cleveland State. They played the 2 games they played were 1-point wins each way. So like there's very little to glean from the regular season, but I just trust NKU more. Don't want to lay 3, but you could talk me into it, but I'm not going to do it for any sort of best bet or anything.
Yeah, I like NKU as well. These teams split the season series, each team 1 by 1. So we're at 0 for the aggregate right now. Both teams are good on the offensive glass. Certainly Cleveland State, a bit more of an advantage, but NKU rebounded the ball well too in those first 2 games. I think the zone is a real problem for Cleveland State, who is not a great shooting team. They do rely on the rebounds. That's what they're going to go to on offense. But it's all about guard play for me in March, and that's NKU. Fantastic guards there. Warwick is a real standout player. I lean towards NKU here, getting the win. Before we head to the chat mob, a message from Run Your Pool, who will be hosting the official Field of 68 bracket contest this year. A company Rob Douster, the famous Rob Douster of Field of 68, has worked with before. They have more than 50 game types for every sport you can think of, from a traditional bracket pool to Survivor games, head-to-head games, pick X games, and of course, squares. The scoring is customizable. You can tailor your bracket rules to your pool. It is a fantastic hosting platform. Here's the best part. Run Your Pool is giving away $1,500 in cash prizes for free. Just sign up at the link in the description, play.runyourpool.com/field68. That's FIELD 68. Fill out a bracket, be eligible to win. See you guys on Selection Sunday, March 12th. Run Your Pool. Okay, Jim, chat mob, round one. Let's get it.
We've got one A10 pillow fight that has turned into an absolute smacking right now. Richmond is dominating. Kyle, go to you for well,
it's 30.
Check that score. Yep, it's ridiculous. I believe Burton has more points than UMass right now.
Hit the showers.
Kyle, going to you for Loyola, who has flipped to a favorite against St. Joe's today. A couple people in the chat a little bit curious as to why. I think there's some split support for both sides here. Do you have a take on the Ramblers versus the Hawks?
I think the reason why Loyola is a favorite is because of the question marks surrounding St. Joe's players, personnel, Klasic, and Obina. Both missed last game. They smoked Richmond in that game, by the way. Those two players are important for sure, but St. Joe's guards are really, really good. And this team lit Loyola up in one of the matchups they played against them this year. I lean towards St. Joe's. I don't think Loyola is there yet. So I still lean towards the Hawks.
Obina officially out, by the way. That one, I haven't seen a full update on Klasic status, but where it's at right now, Loyola favored is surprising to me. I would say that. Matt, the other one, Rhode Island and LaSalle, the other pillow fight here in the Atlantic 10. You've got LaSalle catching a point. Rhode Island also a lower seed that is favored. Are you buying this one?
I don't get the Rhode Island money that's coming late here as well. See, we saw that with Loyola. Now we see it with the Rams. I kind of like the Explorers here. Just team I trust a little bit more. But of the pillow fights in the A10 today, this is the pillow fight I had the least conviction on. So nothing strong.
It's the pillow fightist. It's the most pillowy in a way.
The ficklest of the pillow fights.
All right. A couple in the whack from our guy, Pat. Kai, Abilene Christian and Cal Baptist. Another somewhat interesting line here where Abilene is favored. As
this is the best bet.
Seed. No, it's not.
Yes, it's Matt's best bet.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Jim, let's do it now. No, let's do it now. Let's do it real time. It saves the crescendo to the end of the show.
I like to save it too, but all right, we'll give it to you. We've got all the other two best bets out. It's take it away, Matt.
I just need someone to explain to me the Abilene Christian money that's coming against me. I'm going to punch back though. We'll Hitmon Lee +2, Cal Bap, Lancers, Taron Armstrong, nice player. Got shooters. Have they been great down the stretch? No, they haven't been. They really missed Quintana, the LMU transfer. I think they need another shooter out there, but they have enough shooting. It's a team that just profiles as a hit the reset button. I think they have the higher upside of the two teams. And Abilene Christian, I feel like people are wanting to be into them as like a mini buy low. They just haven't been that good this year. They're not reliable. Their guards aren't that great. Their bigs are sort of, it's like a makeshift patchwork group of dudes that I think Tanner's still trying to figure it out. Don't trust ACU. I think +2 is a great bet here with the Lancers.
I want to clarify something. Did you say punch back with Hitmon Lee? Because he's the kicking Pokemon, of course. Hitmon Chan is the punching Pokemon. I really couldn't let that fly.
Counter kick. I'm going to counter kick the market here.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad, Kai, that the chat was going to tear Matt apart. If we
can't have that. So can't have that at all.
All right, Kai, also in the whack, Utah Tech, Stephen F. Austin, big time injury questions on the SFA side. Antwai Boasioko, I think, is out. I believe Jalen Jackson Posey is out. Sounds like Day Hall back. Maybe Rhodey Ware is out after last game. There's a whole lot to figure out with this handicap.
Jeez.
The first game was a really big win for SFA. They forced a bajillion turnovers, but no Cam Gooden in that game, and SFA was healthy. Totally different set of circumstances here. How do you see this one?
I think you just have to know who's in for Stephen F. Austin. Can't really bet them if all those guys are out. Obviously, Roddy Ware is huge. Day Hall is huge. I can't bet this without knowing their status. That's what it comes down to.
All right, Matt, I believe this is the last one before we go back to the outline. Scott H. likes McNeese +5.5 in the first half. Team that has been playing very well. I kind of like the first half angle because of how little depth they've been playing with. Trey English has been out through this run, but man, they're rolling, taking on A&M Corpus Christi. What do you think?
Yeah, McNeese at their home floor, +9 feels high. I know Corpus Christi's been a mini juggernaut in this conference, but I kind of apply the same sort of logic to the Southland as I do the NEC. I just think these really big spreads aren't justified in a conference tournament setting. Every team's all the way locked in, motivated. It's hard to really blow out a team. It's hard for a bad team to beat a bad team by a lot. And I don't think this 9 points is indicative of the gap between these two teams, guys. So I like McNeese. Keep it rolling.
I like that explanation basically just roasted UMass even more for being a bad team, getting blown out by a bad team.
Right.
Just what are you doing?
It's an indictment. It is.
But all right, Kai, we'll go back to the outline. Make sure you hit the like button, folks. A lot of people watching. Let's rack up that like total. Back to you, Kai.
Let's do Merrimack and Fairleigh Dickinson, the NEC final. Of course, FDU, they're in the tournament no matter the result. Merrimack is ineligible. They cannot make it. It has been awarded to FDU. Matt, Merrimack's won 10 straight. Their last loss was FDU. FDU swept them during the year.
Swept them, yeah.
Your thoughts?
I like Merrimack, so call me the sucker. Trying to harness this anti-double revenge angle. -4 is a little high. I know they're at home. FDU's talent's real. I think I have to keep checking the roster to remind myself they actually have some guys that can play. But Merrimack's just been a different team the last month and a half of the year. So the market hasn't quite caught up with their value, their current form value. A little bit of that stale November, December, disgusting, get blown out by 1 million points in the non-con. I think that's still lingering within their price, but not much. I think 4 is pretty close to where I'd make it to. I think 5 is probably the right price for me. Just gut screams Merrimack, right? Joe Gallo, better coach, you think. Although, man, Tom Allen's been really good this year. It's tough to say that even.
Tom Allen? Who are you talking about? Tobin Anderson?
Tobin Anderson. Sorry, Tom Allen. I was saying Tom Allen. TA, Jim.
Tim Allen. We got the home improvement guy. The tool man is on the sideline there. No, the matchup actually plays pretty well for Fairleigh Dickinson. That's why they won both games. They're a pretty good zone team. They've got awesome guards that take care of the ball and can shoot. Now, Jordan Minor is going to be a problem in the paint. FDU's interior defense is really, really bad, soft. Their defense is really just overall terrible. So that's the concern. There is that motivation angle, but I don't think Fairleigh Dickinson's going to just roll over and be like, whatever, we're backing into this tournament.
Yeah,
I think they're going to play fully motivated. I'm not really changing my handicap at all with that. So the matchup angle plays up a little more to me, Kai. I think I do lean towards FDU getting the points.
Yeah, the motivation angle. What? No, come on, guys. FDU wants to win the NEC tournament. That is huge for any program. The fact they're going to the NCAA tournament is great, but they want to win the NEC conference tournament. They don't want to be awarded a participation trophy for this. They're trying to win. Motivation is there. Like I said, FDU swept them, man. They can shoot. They have excellent guards. They don't turn the ball over, and they're a really good offensive rebounding team. It's basically the toughest matchup Merrimack could have drawn. It negates their zone. They're the best team equipped to battle the zone. However, Merrimack will live the line. They're the second worst free throw shooting team in the NEC. That's a bit of a problem for Merrimack. I lean FDU here +4. Next game, Big Sky semifinals, Northern Arizona, Montana. Montana favored by 5.5 points here. Jim, these two teams split the season series just like Cleveland State and Northern Kentucky. Both teams won by 1 point. The aggregate is 0. NAU and Montana both been very solid down the stretch. Who you got today?
Yeah, it's kind of the great shot making that Northern Arizona has started to show off against Montana, who's a little more balanced in that regard. Cone has been terrific for Northern Arizona. They're getting big buckets from Oakland Fort, tremendously named freshman guard for NAU. I kind of like the way the Lumberjacks are trending here, to be honest. It feels like a little bit too many points, Matt. I know they're playing third game in 3 days versus Montana, second game in 2 days. I'm not too worried about that. I think NAU hangs around here and potentially even pulls the upset.
I agree. And it's been bet up to 5.5. I think, Jim, that angle you just mentioned is partially baked into the line. I mean, KenPom has this Montana, 4 points. So you get 2 free. I think the 1.5, 2 points that's not reflected in KenPom that's in the current market is probably attributable to what Jim just mentioned. And I've been an NAU defender this whole year. Like, their defense has been putrid. Maybe in this conference tournament setting, it's just more of an effort thing. They're kind of rallying around, circling the wagons, whatever, and just defending at a higher level. I still think they have real personnel limitations defensively. But Montana's a team that's not going to crush you with prolific perimeter scoring. I think their strengths up front, and NAU does have some size. They're not a ton of physical imposing size, but enough size to compete, Kai. And there's a chance they have the best player on the floor today in Jalen Cone. So I like 5.5 with the dog.
I do too. Cone's arguably the best player in this league. That gives them a fighting chance anytime. They also don't make mistakes. Another thing I like to put my money on in conference tournament settings. Star guard, number 1 turnover rate in the league, and they can score. Montana, though, has won 8 of 9. They're playing very well. Matt, you mentioned NAU's defense. It's putrid. Montana's going to score pretty easily, but I lean toward Northern Arizona here at 5.5. I think they can actually win outright. Other Big Sky semi here, Montana State and Weber State. Matthew, the Bobcats, that's Montana State, are favored by 6 here. They're pretty clearly the best team in the Big Sky. I think we all agree at this point. But Weber did cause them problems in the second game. They won by 10 at home. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think it's, people both in this game and the game we just talked about betting on the favorite, just on that technical situational spot. However, man, I don't know. I think 6.5 is a little bit much. I mean, we saw big money come in yesterday on the Summit favorites, Oral Roberts and South Dakota State. How'd that turn out? People thought that was a better schedule spot too. So if you think it's too big, I think you can just trust your gut and it's probably too big. I tend to think that, and that's someone who thinks Montana State's awesome, Jim. So no action for me here. I'm just pretty torn on, the tug of war between the spot, the money that's come in, and the fact that Montana State is a mini juggernaut in this league.
Yeah, they're playing really well. They've won 6 straight. They've covered 3 straight. They got up huge on Eastern Washington and ended up, pulling that game out in the conference finale and took care of business in the quarterfinals of this tournament. But hey, so did Weber State. Really controlled that game against Sacramento State. I wrote up this game for Action Network, and a weird little similarity existed where when Weber State beat Montana State, they shot 65% inside the arc and forced 15 turnovers. They did that exact same thing yesterday to a bigger Sacramento State team. Kind of like the way they're playing. They seem to have figured things out since Dinwiddie went out. He was a really kind of a problem for them. Did not score efficiently at all. So again, kind of like NAU, I like the dog, and I think the dog could potentially push for an outright upset, though I would like to see Montana State represent the league again.
Yeah, I lean towards Montana State. The spread might be a little bit high. I just like their experience. And they have the 2 best players on the floor, Raekwon Battle, Jabril Bello. And I also like Danny Sprinkle, their head coach, quite a bit. I'm leaning Bobcats here, but respect the number, might stay away from the actual side. ACC, yes, we're going to talk one game. Round 1, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech. The Hokies are favored by 7. Jim, they're a sexy long shot pick to win the ACC because they can score, they can shoot, they have a good coach. Yeah, it's a good start. Notre Dame's awful, no depth, a sieve defensively. What are your thoughts here with a 7-point spread?
Yeah, this is kind of like one team is just a better version of the other. Like Virginia Tech, execution based, really good offensively, pretty poor defensively. Notre Dame is that, but worse. And we saw one good last Notre Dame effort at home against Pitt, and then they completely did nothing in the finale on the road. Maybe you get one more rally here to try to keep Bray's career at Notre Dame going. So the spread does feel high to me, but I just like Virginia Tech a lot more as a team at this stage. Starling likely still out for Notre Dame, takes away any dynamic creation they have in the perimeter that could attack Basili off switches. So even without Maddox, Matt, for Virginia Tech, I'm leaning their way, just not willing to bet it at this number.
Yeah, nor am I. I think you can see Notre Dame kind of rising up and having a spirited performance here in this tournament. Although they just got boat raced by Clemson last game. It actually makes me like them more, especially because you saw them play so competitively against Duke, Virginia, UNC with 4-2 4-point losses, and lost by 8 at Wake. And then lost to this Virginia Tech team by 8 points before that. So basically outside of that Clemson regular season debacle, the Irish have been pretty competitive despite their personnel issues and then just their general lack of talent issues. So I'm not fading that angle. I think Tech wins, but I don't think they cover that margin.
That's me. Chat Mob, part 2.
Chat Mob to you.
Chat Mob, part 2. Matthew, I'll go to you here. St. Peter's getting 3 points against Fairfield, neutral site game here, Atlantic City in the MAAC. Any thoughts on this one with the Peacocks? Do they continue their March magic from last year?
I kind of think so. Oh, they do today. I think they beat Fairfield, who I've been irrationally down on this year. You guys are both right. They were better than I gave them credit for. However, I disagree with the money coming in on Fairfield today. I think the Peacocks peacock over the Stags today, Kai.
Let's go to the Big West. Kai, there's a question about the total in the Northridge versus Bakersfield game. 2 teams that are slow and ugly offensively. They're playing in a neutral site in Vegas. It's actually out in Henderson, kind of an odd place. Dollar Loan Center, I think it is. Do you have any take on that total? I saw 124.5 last. What do you got?
It's been bet up, Jim. 125-26. Whoa.
I think Bakersfield has been a bit of an over team lately. I can't explain why. They're playing better offensively. Yeah, Matt, if you have a take, go ahead.
Yeah, I got burned on a lot of these totals. So when Gaskin came back, he's like a huge underplayer because he takes the absolute worst shots. And he's like a good defender. And they stopped playing the Dolph shooter dude, who I love. So they're kind of back to, I think, a under team. I don't agree with the money. That's all I'll say. I think it's a better under than an over. I would take the under at the better value.
All right. Kai, ACC question. Georgia Tech -2 against Florida State. Georgia Tech is playing better, as pointed out by Mackenzie in the chat. They smoked Syracuse on the road, won at BC as well. Are you riding that wave against the Noles?
No, I like Florida State. Don't have a good reason for it. I still think they're the more talented team. Give me Florida State +2.
Yeah, I like FSU hitting the reset button here a little bit. They were somewhat feisty down the stretch. Last game was not great, but I mean, winning at Miami, Florida, that second half 25-point comeback, I think shows you the ceiling they're capable of. Maybe they're able to access it now in the postseason where they're not just beaten down in a single-digit win season. I believe that is it. So I guess we can recap best bets. If anything comes in at the buzzer, we can hit it. But Matt, we'll go to you.
Best bet, Cal Baptist. Let's go Lancers. Lance up. Get it done. ACU. I'm not buying into it, Kai. +2 against the market. Hitmon Chan counterpunching for me today. Let's go.
Very good. Very good.
And Kai, I'm going UNC Wilmington +10. I think they are a feisty underdog against a Charleston team that maybe is going to feel the pressure a little. Don't know if they're going to get there. If they don't win this game, if they're going to actually get an at-large bid with their 30 wins, I think Wilmington is able to hang around. Even if they get down, that's a team I trust to make an extensive comeback. So I'll ride with the Seahawks +10.
At the buzzer, Louisville, BC, Marist, Manhattan. I like Marist. +3, +2.5 against Manhattan.
I do too. Foxes.
They just
yeah,
destroyed them recently. Beat them by like 1,000.
I got nothing in the BC Louisville game. 6 points feels right to me. Thoughts?
I'm leaning Louisville because I'm a
Louisville.
Masochist. Let's go.
Yeah, I like BC. Why is BC laying the touchdown though? Yeah,
Louisville's really bad. My
excellent point.
My best bet was, what the heck was my best bet? North Dakota State +10.5. That was a reminder. All right. That does it for us, guys. We will see you tomorrow. Hey, new time tomorrow. We're going to go an hour earlier. So we're doing 12 Eastern, 11 a.m.
11 Central. That's 9 Pacific, Cali time. Hermosa Beach, stand up. Let's go.
So tomorrow, an hour earlier. We'll see you then. Good luck with your bets today. Enjoy some conference tournament action.